property for multiplication, the identity property of multiplication. Now we remember there is an identity property for addition as well. With multiplication, like we see in this slide, this is phantom ones. And by phantom ones, that means that if you took the one that's being multiplied in these cases and just made it a phantom one, so it's gone, right? Like I just erased that right there. That doesn't mean that it's just gone away. It's there, okay? It's in this space. You just can't see it anymore. I just covered it up, which is why it's called the phantom one. It's there. You just can't see it, okay? So that, that's one way to look at this. And that's the way it works with multiplication. And yeah, it doesn't really matter whether you take a number and multiply it by 1, or if you take 1 and multiply it by a number. I could make this a phantom 1 if I wanted to. So yeah, it's really just saying this right here. Anything times 1 is itself. So it's not, yeah, the multiplication property of 1. Either way, the identity property is good too. It's called the identity property because, of course, you have an identity, like a number, and then if you multiply it by 1, you get the same identity back. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe that helps. I don't know. It helps me in any case. So these are the types of problems that we should expect to see on the assignment. And of course we know, and I think we've talked about this before already, but anything multiplied by 1 is itself. So in this first example, when it says at the top 8 times 1, of course, you'd get the 8 back, right? That's the identity. We started with an identity of 8, we end with an identity of 8. Let's see. So this next example, 54 times 1, yeah, anything times 1 is itself. And the itself we mean in this case is 54. There we go. So filling in the blanks like this one, 11 times something is 11. And of course, you say it's 11 times something is itself, which means that has to be a 1 right there as well. And so down here, the final one here, something times 1 is 2. It has to be the same identity right here, right? The identity property. So that's a 2 right there also. So yeah, on the homework, you'd fill in these boxes this way, and then, of course, you just push enter, and you'd get full credit. The last thing about multiplying by 1, if you think about what multiplication is, like this would say you got 8 groups of 1. Well, that's just 8, right? You got 8 of these ones. It's still just 8. Or like even if you reversed it, if you had one group of 54 like this, well, I'll make a new example for that actually. Like if I said I had one group of, we'll say 9. Of course that would be 9 because you only have one of those groups. So even at its foundation for multiplication, this would explain the identity property of multiplication.